Hello? Hello? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Let us start. Today, I want to tell about hydrated cyst of the liver. This is very, very important topic, both for your theory and sometimes you may get a hepatomegaly as a long case. And in the evening session, you may be asked some questions about the specimen of hydrated. So the meaning for hydrated is, it is vesicle in Latin. And you know very well that it is the causative organism is Echinococcus granulosus. Right. Coming to the life cycle of Echinococcus, that is the infected cysts, that is the meat of the sheep which got infected with the cysts, that is eaten away by the dog. Here, dog is the definitive host, and accidental host or intermediate host is man, and the adult worm is released in the dog's intestine. And the adult worm is about 1 centimeter in length, and it contains 3 segments. The last segment contains about 500 ova. So these ova that will be get expelled from the dog's intestine into grass and vegetables. So while grazing, the sheep are eating the vegetables which are not properly cleaned, or because of the playing with the dogs, the intermediate hosts, they are the sheep, cattle and human beings. They get infected by these cysts, that is ova of the hydrated worm. They enter the intestine, and through the portal vein they reach the liver. That is the first organ, what we call it as the first filter in hydrated. Right. So hydrated cyst, it is a larval form, and 70% they occur in the liver. And second filter, we describe it as lungs. That is the second where we commonly see the hydrated cyst. It takes few years to completely evolve into a complete hydrated cyst. So this is the life cycle of hydrated cyst. That is the adult worm that is present in the intestine of the dog, and it releases the ova. That is once they get infected, while that is release of the ova, whether they are taken away by the sheep or by the human, while playing they got infected and they reach the small intestine, next go to large intestine, the portal vein, and they go to the liver. So this is the life cycle where it starts from the dog, which is definitive host. And I already told it is the first, it is most commonly involved segment is 7th segment of the liver. While telling anatomy, that is there are 8 segments in the liver in a clockwise direction. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, they are present in the left lobe, and 5, 6, 7, 8, they are present in the right lobe. 27% they occur in the 7th segment of the liver. And right lobe, 66%. I already told why right lobe is more commonly involved. That is, it is the largest segment, and it contains about 75% of the liver tissue. And next comes the left lobe of the liver, that is 17%. And in both lobes sometimes get involved in about 16% of the cases. And coming to the pathology, that the hydrated cyst, that it contains 3 layers. The first is adventitious layer, otherwise called pseudocyst, and second one is ectocyst, that is laminated membrane, and endocyst, that is called germinal epithelium. And this is the picture of hydrated cyst. It is first one is, that is adventitious layer. That is, it is nothing but a collagen layer of the host, that is as the cyst enlarges, the liver tissue gets compressed and it is forming the adventitious layer of the hydatid cyst, laminated membrane. So this is secreted by the germinal layer. This is the what we are seeing layer, that is the laminated membrane, and next is germinal layer, that is layer which is responsible for producing daughter cyst, also produces germinal layer. Adventitious layer, I am describing each layer. Number one is adventitious layer. So fibrous layer, issues of the host, that is it is because of the two reasons. Number one is it is reacting, and second one is it is because of the increased size of the cyst. The liver tissue will be get compressed, forming a thin layer, and it is the most important layer during surgery, and it is adherent to the liver, which is very difficult to separate. And ectocyst, that is white and elastic, that is what we are seeing, the white glistening structures, and this is produced by the endocyst or germinal epithelium of the parasite. This layer gets peeled off easily during surgery. So at this level only we will separate the ectocyst from the liver tissue. We will not remove the adventitious layer. Right. Next comes the third layer, that is the endocyst. It is the innermost layer of the hydatid, and it secretes hydatid fluid inside and also ectocyst outside. And this hydatid fluid, which contains the brood capsules, that is daughter cysts, and the scolysis of Echinococcus granulosus develop in the brood capsules. So this is the endocyst, which is the what we call it as active layer, which is responsible for the growth of the parasite, and it is responsible to produce scolysis and daughter cysts, brood capsules, which are responsible for gradually increasing in the size of the cyst. And next comes the hydatid fluid. It is a clear fluid with a specific gravity of about 1.005 to 1.009, and it contains hooklets and scolysis. Right. Coming to the clinical features, how the patient with hydatid disease presents to the surgical OP. That is, most of the times it is asymptomatic. That is, the patient is not having any symptoms at all, and when he comes to the clinic for some other problem, when we investigate taking any ultrasound for pain abdomen, then we will diagnose that the patient is having hydatid cyst. So in more than 50% of the cases, this is asymptomatic or silent in presentation, and it is accidentally discovered on routine examination. That is, examination of the abdomen. The patient may be having hepatomegaly, or sometimes what is the cause for hepatomegaly? When we investigate, then we may find that hydatid cyst is present. And in case of large cyst, that is pain in the right hypochondrium, that is large hydatid cyst occupying almost 30 to 50% of the right lobe of liver, then it produces dragging type of pain because of the enlarged liver and because of the weight of the cyst. And clinical examination, that is, you may find hepatomegaly, that is all clinical features of hepatomegaly are present. That is, the liver is enlarged downwards into the right iliac fossa, and it is having sharp margins, fingers cannot be insinuated, and it is having smooth surface with rounded borders. And most of the times it is not tender because it is not having any infection, so there is no tenderness at all. And typical hydatid thrill, this is the most important clinical sign that sometimes we can elicit in a case of hydatid cyst of the liver. And how to demonstrate this hydrated thrill? Because sometimes we will very well appreciate hydrated thrill. This is elicited by keeping 3 fingers on the lever, that is in the right hypochondrium, and percussing on the middle finger and lifting the middle finger. So once you percuss, you have to lift the middle finger, and when you percuss, there will be displacement of these brood capsules and scoliosis downwards, and when you lift the middle finger, the scoliosis and the brood capsules, they come and touch the remaining 2 fingers, where you feel it as an impulse. That is, the impulse will be felt by the other 2 fingers. And coming to the investigations, that is, the best investigation is ultrasound abdomen. It is a confirmatory investigation, and it gives more information regarding the diagnosis, not only diagnosis, the exact location of the cyst, the size of the cyst, and also sometimes it may show speckled calcification or calcification of the wall of the cyst. All these features you have to identify while doing ultrasound examination. And you can take plain X-ray abdomen also, where the calcification may be demonstrated, or sometimes there may be lifting of the right dome of the diaphragm. And the CT scan, it is usually not done routinely, only in selected cases we will do. And when the cyst is superficial and reach the surface of the liver, that is, you have to try to operate, because in CT scan we can demonstrate along with the size of the cyst, exact situation, the size and calcification, and also how much superficial to the liver tissue. That is most important thing. And in CT scan, it will give a cartwheel appearance. I will show the figure how it looks. Next is ERCP. This is very rarely indicated in hydatid disease, particularly when a patient with hydatid disease presents with obstructive jaundice. Because the cause of the jaundice is sometimes the hydatid cyst may be present over the undersurface of the liver, compression on the CBD, so it produces obstructive type of jaundice, and sometimes very rarely it ruptures into the biliary radicals, where there may be parts of the hydatid cyst within the CBD. In such case, we have to do ERCP so that we can see some of the parts of the hydatid cyst within the common bile duct. So by doing sphincterotomy, that is the sphincter of Oddi, where we can cut it with diathermy at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock position, we can do widening of the opening, that is by doing sphincterotomy, and all the hydatid contents will come out into the duodenum. This is the indicated only when the patient is having obstructive jaundice, to evaluate what is the cause for obstructive jaundice in hydatid disease. And the Cassony's intradermal test, it is routinely nowadays it is not done because the sensitivity and specificity of the Cassony's test is only 75%. So it is rarely done. It is an intradermal test where we inject the hydatid antigen. So this is the cartwheel appearance, where we can see that is in the liver. We can see that is the right lobe of the liver, where we are seeing the cartwheel appearance, large, well-defined, non-calcified cystic lesion with thin septations that gives typical appearance of a cartwheel, that is in the right lobe of the liver. And it also gives the most important information is how much of liver tissue is present over the surface of the cyst, because sometimes it is very difficult to incise the liver tissue, because there will be a lot of bleeding and also bile leakage, and it is very difficult to control. So the superficial cyst only we can operate safely, otherwise there is a danger of severe bleeding. Right. Next one is spoke wheel sign or honeycomb sign. So it is seen. So here we can see the typical honeycomb appearance where there are multiple septa between the daughter cysts inside the mother cyst. So these are the multiple daughter cysts that gives typical appearance of a spoke wheel appearance. So this is an ultrasound finding. This is CT scan finding. Coming to the treatment, there are 4 methods of treatment. So for each treatment, what are the indications and what are the what is the procedure, what is the advantages and disadvantages, you have to write down. So coming to the treatment, the first treatment is conservative treatment. Second one is medical treatment and surgical procedures and percutaneous drainage. Coming to the first method of treatment, that is conservative treatment. So what are the indications for conservative treatment? So calcified cysts are usually considered as a dead cysts and we can left it them alone. So there is no need for treatment and you have to observe by repeated ultrasound once in 3 months whether it is increasing in size or not. So if it is increasing, then only you have to take up for active intervention. Otherwise, there is no need for surgery. You can observe the patient because most of the calcified cysts they are dead cysts. And when the patient is having small cysts, symptomless, not producing any symptoms, that is when the cyst is less than 5 centimeters in diameter, we can keep the patient under observation by treatment, conservative treatment, or we can give medical treatment so that most of the times all the cysts may become sterile, all the parasite will be killed, and you can observe repeatedly by doing ultrasound whether it is increasing in size or not. And coming to the medical treatment, this is very, very important whether you are doing surgery or not, because even before surgery also you have to give medical treatment. So the drugs, most commonly used drugs are number 1, that is albendazole. Second one is mebendazole. So albendazole, that is the dose is, it is available as 4 milligram tablet. You have to give 2 tablets, that is 2 times a day. That is 1 tablet twice daily for 6 weeks after food. So you must give minimum period of 6 weeks. Then only the cyst wall decreases in size. And the albendazole, it is having effect not only on the ovicidal, ova, it is also larvicidal and vermicidal. So it is having all the 3 effects. That is, it is ovicidal, larvicidal and vermicidal. So that's why, but the duration of treatment is minimum 6 weeks you have to give, and repeated courses may be required sometimes. So you can give a gap of 4 to 8 weeks and again you can start treatment. So by repeated courses of albendazole, it may be given for a period of about 6 months. And response to medical treatment, it is indicated by, you have to assess the patient every time, once in 2 months by doing ultrasound. So whether there is decrease in the size of the cyst, and sometimes the tension we can assess by percussing on the liver, that is right hypochondrium, whether the cyst, that is liver size is decreasing or not. And the main advantage is the cyst fluid becomes sterile. So all the daughter cysts, they will become killed, they will be killed, and it is safe. So it is sterile, so it can avoid the growth of the cyst. And mebendazole, you have to give 600 milligram tablets twice daily for 4 weeks after food. And what are the indications for medical treatment? What is the main indication? So medical treatment should be given even if you plan for surgical management, because it will decrease the size of the cyst, it decreases the tension within the cyst, and also it makes the cyst sterile so that the daughter cyst will be killed. So during surgery, if there is any spillage of the hydrated fluid, it will not be leading to recurrence of the disease. But what are the main indications for medical treatment? That is, number 1 is disseminated hydrated disease, because initially it involves the spleen, that is liver. Next it involves the lungs. Sometimes it may go to spleen, bones, peritoneal cavity. So it may spread to any organ in the body. So when there is disseminated hydrated disease involving multiple organs where the role of surgery is minimum, so we cannot do surgery in every organ. So you can treat it by giving medical treatment, and when it is inaccessible for surgery, particularly when it is deeply seated and recurrent hydrated disease. So when I already told, when the hydrated cyst is very superficial, where we can identify the adventitious coat as a dark brown color liver tissue, we can easily differentiate the adventitious layer from the surrounding normal tissue. So that is the best thing we can do surgery when the cyst is very superficial. Otherwise, when it is very deeply situated, then it is very difficult, because you cannot cut the liver tissue. It is very difficult to cut, and there will be severe bleeding and biliary leakage. It may lead to biliary peritonitis also. So that is the problem. And recurrence hydrated disease, even after doing surgery, when there is recurrence of the hydrated disease, then you can go for medical treatment. And when the patient is unfit for surgery, that is because of the medical problems. The patient may be having some cardiovascular problem or pulmonary problem where the patient is unfit for giving anesthesia, then we can go for medical treatment. And next one is to avoid peritoneal contamination during surgery. So before surgery also, you must always give medical treatment, not less than 3 weeks at any cost, and preferably you must give 6 weeks so that we can do safe surgery by avoiding the spillage of the hydrated fluid, which may lead to disseminated hydrated source of the peritoneal cavity. Next, coming to the surgery. So what are the indications for surgery? So when will you take the surgery? So the first indication is symptomatic cyst. That is, symptomatic cyst means large cyst producing hepatomegaly. The patient complains of pain, that is dragging type of pain, and large cyst which is more than 5 centimeters and which is gradually increasing in size. So that is the first indication, and otherwise you can wait for some time and treat it by medical treatment. And infected cyst. So the infection is very, very rare in hydrated disease, because it is very well protected by the compressed zone of the liver tissue, that is the adventitious coat, where the bacteria are unable to penetrate into the cyst. So the infection of the cyst is very rare in hydrated disease, and any cyst which is more than 5 centimeters, you have to plan for surgery after giving medical treatment for a period of 3 to 6 weeks. Right. What are the main principles of surgery? What is the care you have to take while doing surgery? So after doing laparotomy, isolate the cysts from the peritoneal cavity. So the cysts should be isolated. All are surrounded by keeping mops soaked in scolycidal agent. So that is the, you must take sufficient number of mops. That should be, you must keep the scolycidal agent in a basin, and all the mops are soaked in the scolycidal agent, and the cyst is completely separated from the remaining peritoneal cavity. It is surrounded by mops soaked in scolycidal agent. Then you have to take 20 ml syringe and aspirate the fluid from the hydrated cyst slowly, and then inject the scolycidal agent without removing the needle, and you must inject less than 10 to 15 ml what you have aspirated, and you have to keep it pressure so that there should not be any leak. Then you have to wait for 15 to 20 minutes for the action of the scolycidal agent. Then the cyst fluid becomes sterile. Next, incise the cyst. That is the only adventitious layer is inside, because it is compressed. There won't be any bleeding or bile leak, and it is the hydrated wall, that is endocyst, that is it will be slowly peeled off. That is laminated membrane, that is white laminated membrane, that can be easily peeled up by using sponge holding forceps, where we can slowly remove the cyst, and once you incise, because of the pressure, the cysts will come out very easily, and you have to hold them with sponge holding forceps and keep them in the kidney tray. And removal of the adventitious layer is not at all necessary. You should not try to remove it at all, because if you try to remove, there will be a lot of problems. It bleeds heavily, so there is no need to remove the adventitious layer. And if you leave the adventitious layer after removal of all the hydrated layer, that is laminated membrane, after removing all the cysts, the adventitious layer is very useful. You can keep in the gap, that is in the liver tissue, so that we can avoid bleeding as well as biliary leakage. And what precautions you have to take before, during and after surgery. So number one is medical treatment. So I already told you should give medical treatment before surgery for not less than 3 weeks, preferably 6 weeks. It helps to decrease the size of the cyst, tension within the cyst wall, and it will not rupture, and cyst fluid becomes sterile and it becomes non-infective. So that is the advantage of giving medical treatment before surgery. And during surgery, what precaution you have to take? That is, you must keep all measures, that is, you must give all drugs which are useful to prevent anaphylactic reaction. So number one is hydrocortisone. You must also keep antihistaminics, that is chlorpheniramine maleate injections ready, so that the patient may go into anaphylactic shock at any time. And you must also give instructions to the anesthetist that the patient may develop a severe anaphylactic reaction because of the spillage of the hydrated fluid. So all measures must be taken during surgery, so that there won't be any spillage of the fluid leading to anaphylactic reaction. And all drugs must be ready to face the anaphylactic reaction. And what are the scolicidal agents that are available and most commonly used? So initially they are using formalin in the olden days, where it produces biliary fibrosis. So that's why it is not used. And the easily available, that is chlorhexidine solution, that is available as a 2% solution, which can be diluted and used. And when it is used in large doses, it may produce acidosis. And hypertonic saline, that is 25% hypertonic saline can be used. But the complication is hypernatremia, and sodium hypochlorite solution can be used. It is also producing hypernatremia. And alcohol, 80% alcohol can be used, that is ethyl alcohol. It produces cholangitis. And next is, we are also using povidone iodine solution. It is available as 5% solution. It can be diluted and used. So these are some of the scolicidal agents, that is chlorhexidine, hypertonic saline, sodium hypochlorite, alcohol, and also povidone iodine, that is 5% solution. So these are the solutions which we commonly use in our OT while doing surgery for hydrated disease. And different types of surgical procedures. So what are the various surgical procedures you can do? That is, number one is excision. So this is usually most commonly done procedure when the cyst is of small or moderate size, where we excise the complete cyst, leaving the adventitious layer, or what we call it as a that is outside layer, that is compressed liver tissue. That is we can leave it, and completely you can excise the cyst when the cyst is moderate size. The second one is cystopericystectomy. That is, cyst is excised in a plane outside the adventitious layer, where we can remove the complete cyst. In a large cyst, we will remove it and scrape it with a spoon or a scoop, so that all the cysts can be removed. But sometimes it may lead to bleeding when there is adherence of some of the cysts. While scraping, it may produce bleeding. So that is the problem with the cystopericystectomy. And third one is captionase. That is, after complete evacuation of the cyst, the greater omentum is used to close the cavity, so that the advantage of placing the omentum into the cavity, that is where we have removed the hydrated cyst, it can prevent oozing or bleeding or biliary leakage. So that is the main advantage of keeping the, otherwise it will produce biliary peritonitis. When the omentum is very short or not available, where you are not able to bring the omentum into the cavity where you have removed the hydrated cyst, then the redundant cyst wall, that is adventitious layer, may be infolded into the cyst cavity and sutured in place so that it will obliterate the cavity. And this is called captonase. And very rarely in higher institutes where it is, because nowadays after knowing the segmental anatomy of the liver, if I already told in the initially, because most commonly it is present in the 7th segment of the liver, in higher institutes where the facilities for hepatic resection are available, we can plan for resection of the cyst, that is hepatic resection, where there is proper indication in higher centers. Resection may be planned, that is when the hydrated cyst is confined only to 2 segments of the liver. So then you can plan for segmentectomy, that is not more than 2 segments, we can plan for hepatic resection. And percutaneous drainage, that is called PAIR, puncture, aspiration, injection and reaspiration. So this is percutaneous drainage. It is done under ultrasound or CT guidance after taking all necessary precautions with all emergency drugs. So you must have good, that's it, you have to start IV line, you must keep all the drugs necessary to meet the anaphylactic reaction, and all precautions must be taken. And then under local anesthesia, we can puncture the cyst wall and aspirate the fluid and inject the scolicidal agent, and after 15 to 20 minutes you will aspirate. So what are the indications for percutaneous drainage? So the indications for PAIR, that is when it is unilocular cyst, because it contains only one cyst, that is a large cyst, where you can do unilocular cyst. The best method is PAIR, where there is no need for laparotomy, anesthesia, everything we can do under local anesthesia, taking all precautions to meet the anaphylactic reaction. And uncomplicated cyst, that is not got infected, or when there is no calcification, and when the patient is not fit for surgery, that is not fit for anesthesia and surgery because of the medical problems, we can plan for PAIR method of treatment. And another thing is, patient has undergone multiple abdominal surgeries. So because of the previous abdominal surgeries, because of the adhesions, where if you do laparotomy, there is a chance that it may cause rupture of the hydrated cyst. So we can plan for PAIR method of treatment. And relapse after surgery. So patient has already undergone treatment for hydrated disease, and there is relapse or recurrence after surgery, that is within the liver tissue, then you can plan for a PAIR method of treatment. Contraindications for PAIR, that is multiloculated cyst and communicating cyst. This is very, very important, because some of the hydrated cysts, they may get communicated with biliary radicals, where there is communication of the cyst with biliary tract or biliary radicals. It is a main contraindication to prevent PAIR method of treatment. And dead or inactive cyst, which is represented by calcification on ultrasound or a CT scan, there is no need for treatment, because these are all dead cysts. They will not grow in size, they will not produce any symptoms also. And what are the complications of hydrated cyst? So when you don't treat, what are the various complications? So number one is any trauma, that is blunt injury abdomen, it may cause rupture of the cyst, and it leads to leakage of the fluid into the peritoneal cavity, leading to anaphylactic shock. So blunt trauma abdomen, because the patient is having already hepatomegaly, and when the cyst is very, very superficial, coming to the surface of the liver, there is a chance that it may rupture because of the trauma, leading to anaphylactic shock and immediate death of the patient. So you must treat the shock by intravenous cortisone, hydrocortisone, and other drugs, and then you can do laparotomy if the patient is fit for surgery. And sometimes, because it is present over the posterior superior surface of the liver, and it may rupture into the diaphragm, that is into the thoracic cavity, leading to empyema, that is when the cyst is present over the posterior superior surface of the liver, and rupture into the biliary radicals, producing obstructive jaundice. Sometimes, very rarely, when the cyst is under surface, so it may rupture into one of the common hepatic ducts or common bile duct. So when it ruptures into the biliary radicals, it will produce obstructive jaundice, which is treated, I already told, by doing ERCP. We can try to remove all the cyst contents by doing sphincterotomy. And next one is jaundice. That is, I already told, due to cyst within the cavity or large cyst which compress the biliary tracts. And the treatment is ERCP, endoscopic removal of the hydatid cyst from CBD, followed by sphincterotomy. So you can do sphincterotomy before or after removal of the cyst contents. And very rarely there is infection of the cyst. So infection of the hydatid cyst is very rare, because I already told, because it is covered by the adventitious layer, that is nothing but fibrous tissue of the liver, which is because of the host reaction as well as compression. So it is having a thick layer. Unless the infection comes to the bile, usually the hydatid cyst will not be get infected. And last complication, that is calcification of the cyst. In long-standing cases, there may be calcification where the cyst is dead, so it will not produce any symptoms at all. And a few words about Echinococcus multilocularis. That is, this parasitic infection is very rare in India, and it is a most severe disease and very difficult to treat. Hence, it is called malignant hydatid. So this is Echinococcus multilocularis. It is very rare in India, and it produces more severe disease and very difficult to treat. It is called malignant hydatid. So this is about hydatid system. Right. Okay. Okay.